Hello, my name is Terry Bridges, and I have the wonderful honor of speaking to you, the Inn of Court, today about the founding and later on about the naming. I've been involved and was involved in the Inn of Court for many years and was one of the founding members. It means so much to me. It helped me so much, and I'm happy to bring back some of the basic background of this beloved inn. By way of background for myself, I was born and raised in Riverside. I was educated in Riverside. I went away to college at the University of Santa Clara, thence to USC Law School, and always wanted to come back here. I only interviewed with 2 firms. I didn't interview with anyone outside of Riverside. That was how much I wanted to practice here. And these are some of the reasons, even as a small person, as a young person, as a high school person, I knew that I wanted, 1, to practice trial law, and 2, to come back to Riverside, a small community. I was born here in 1940. The population was 10,000 people. It seemed as though everyone knew everyone. The attorneys were held in the highest of esteem. I would walk down from time to time to downtown where my father's office was. He'd take me to lunch, it was the noon hour, and he would point out with admiration, there's Judge Waite, there's Judge Deegan, there's Judge Hughes, there's Judge X, Y, and Z. And I knew from as a young child, this is something special, to be a judge, to be an attorney. And this place is something special where everyone has the feeling of a small practicing community, a family, if you will. I had the honor of practicing with Best and Krieger from 1969 to 1965, to 1979. Thereafter, I had my own firm and practiced until 2011, always here in Riverside. Let's talk about the background of the Leo A. Deegan Inn of Court. A typical day when I came to practice in 1965 was this. You would arrive early in court. You would hear laughter in the great hall. You would seek out your adversary, and it was never an adversary, it was a friend. You would talk to that person about the case. You would ask him, unfortunately at the time it was all hymns, you would ask him if you could go out to coffee afterward to talk about the case. The response was almost always yes. And so those firm relations between attorneys on both sides were formed, and they remained, and they grew. I would ask opposing counsel if they'd like to go out to coffee afterwards. They always said yes. Fortuitously, there were 2 coffee shops across, one out of the main entrance and one out of the north entrance. So you'd see a lot of attorneys happily talking about the case, happily talking about what are we going to do with this, happily talking about what can we do to resolve this. That was such a happy part of my beginning practice here in Riverside. When you went into the court, you were greeted by the clerks, you were greeted by the bailiff, you were greeted by the reporter. You were greeted by everyone who had an official capacity. That was a tradition at the time when I began my practice. And it reiterated my belief and commitment to come back to Riverside for that small community feeling. It continued that way until I can't put my finger on it, but it was in the 80s We had a larger trial bar. We had more people coming from out of town. We had people who were hired, contract attorneys and otherwise, to make the appearance as opposed to the lead trial counsel. The Discovery Act had been enacted. There were more motions about motions to compel. There were more motions for sanctions. There were more ad hominem arguments in moving and responding papers. The acts of professionalism seemed to decline. It was almost visible. You could almost feel it. There were lawyer jocks all over the place. There was a really sad proliferation of substance and alcohol abuse. There were many surveys which came to the conclusion that people are dissatisfied with their role as an attorney and were looking for ways out. The judges seemed more harsh. And I think with good cause for what I told you about the lack of civility, or growing lack of civility. And the judges started to talk about this. The attorneys started to talk about this. Our discussions were, what can we do? What must we do to bring civility back to our cherished community? One of the persons I had the honor of talking about with these problems from time to time was Judge Sharon Waters. Finally, Judge Waters said, we've got to do something about it, and here's what we can do. We can form an Inn of Court, patterned after the American Inn of Court, which is intended to, and did, promote civility and professionalism in the trial bar. Sharon worked so many hours to get our bylaws accepted, to get our charter accepted from the American Inns of Court. But she got them. We decided that we would, like most Inns of Court, meet monthly. We would have guest speakers at that time. We would have different teams approached to approach issues and make presentations on them. Everything that we did was to bring us more together as trial lawyers. And everything we did was directed by and implemented by Judge Waters. If you ever see her on the streets, please give her a hug, unless she's wearing a robe. Tell her thank you, that you are a member of the Inn of Court, and you understand that she was one of the founding members, and you deeply appreciate what she has done for this community. I want to tell you how the Inn helped me, and it sort of shaped me. It brought back that old sense of professionalism. It brought back the pride of being an attorney, not only in Riverside, but just an attorney, just a trial lawyer. What we learned here, we took to other communities where we appeared in other courts. We remembered the lessons that we received and learned and practiced from being a member of the Inn of Court. Sanctions, motions for sanctions decreased, if not were eliminated, by and between members of the Inn of Court. It's difficult to go to dinner and have a glass of wine with a member and then bring a motion for sanctions against that person the next day. It created its own web of enhanced civility. And when you went to those meetings, you came in with an anticipation of something special happening that night, and you left inevitably with a benefit or more benefits of both socialization and what you learned from the program that was placed on that night. It brought back, the Inn brought back, as I said, the joy of practice. And it brought back the pride of being a lawyer. It inspired me with presentations. It brought me new friends, and it cemented old friends and old relationships. I started feeling an enhancement of the bar, a return of civility, an increase of respect for every attorney and all the court personnel, the entire judiciary. But more than that, what we preached in those early days and what I saw practiced by members of the Inn in Court was a deep respect for every member in the courtroom, to treat everybody with respect, with dignity, and with civility. Whether that is opposing counsel, opposing party, all the courtroom personnel, certainly the judge, witnesses. Everyone was entitled to be treated with dignity and respect. And you could feel, I really believe you could feel in those days an enhancement of the practice in Riverside by members of the Inn of Court. We felt an absolute duty to practice what we preached, to put into effect that which we learned at our meetings, and to hold our heads a little bit higher with a stronger sense of professional ability and responsibility, and to uplift, if you will, the rest of the bar. And if not, to at least say at the end of each day, I did my best to treat everyone with dignity and respect. Soon those ad hominem arguments vanished. Motions for sanction were lessened, if not eliminated, amongst bar members or Inn of Court members. The laughter started returning in the Great Hall. People had more coffee after their arguments. Friendships were formed forever. In any event, there was a great increase throughout the bar of civility and professionalism and respect. I have a wish for each of you, and it is the wish that I give my gift and my joys that I had as a member of the Inn to you, that you feel the same joy that I did, that you felt the same and that you feel the same sense of responsibility to everybody in this wonderful profession, that you spread that to other people, that in your own firms you be a keeper of civility, that you establish norms of civility, that you establish norms of communication, both written and oral, that you try to meet with your opponent personally, that you have that cup of coffee personally, and you form better relationships. I promise you that if you do, you will be more happy as an attorney, you'll be more happy as a human being, and those laugh lines that might have eliminated or decreased will start returning. The Inn of Court has been a wonderful, wonderful experience for me. I'm bettered by it. I know that you will be bettered by it. I thank you for the joy of communicating to you my love of the Inn, my joy of the Inn, and my absolute thanksgiving and respect to Judge Sharon Waters for forming it. Thank you.